Exactly. There we go. There we go. Challenge or not, I'm sure you have some questions, topics you want to talk about when it comes to nutrition. I really want to tailor this to what you guys want to hear about. So please feel free to ask questions during. Don't save your questions to the end. Give me a little hand raise. Oh, a mic.
Just put it around your ears. Yep.
So, testing, testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing.
A little bit louder for you. You can stick that in your pocket or something.
Yeah, this little pocket here.
There you go.
Testing, testing. Sound good? I don't have to yell. I'm not going to lose my voice. This is great. I'm going to put these around. So this is a QR code. If you do want to put your email in there, that is for a chance to win a free one-on-one consultation. And I will announce that by the end of January. So let's get started. First, we were kind of talking about TikTok and where people are getting their information, their nutrition information. So my first question to you guys is, does anyone know the difference between a registered dietitian and a nutritionist? Did anyone know there is a difference between the two? So, if you are getting any nutrition information, the first place I would look at is what are their qualifications. A registered dietitian has to actually go to school for nutrition. They have to have a bachelor's degree in nutrition. They have to go forth and do an internship. They have to pass a national registration exam. They have to be licensed in their state to practice. And as of 2026, it will require a master's degree. To be a nutritionist, you can just call yourself a nutritionist. It's not a protected term. You can get online and do a 2-week certificate and call yourself a certified nutritionist. So that's step one. Where are we getting our nutrition information? Is it from a registered dietitian or a nutritionist? This RDN, registered dietitian nutritionist, that kind of shows you that, okay, this person actually has a credential. The LD stands for licensed dietitian. Okay, so the one thing that everyone said in the survey that they wanted to hear was about metabolism and weight loss. So we are going to start there. Now, when I say metabolism, resting metabolic rate, basal metabolic rate, it all means the same thing. Basically, that number is the amount of calories that you are burning doing nothing. So if I stood here like this for 24 hours, my body breathing, my skin cells regenerating, my hair growing, my lungs breathing, my blood flowing, all of those things equal a certain number. That is your resting metabolic rate. That does not take into account activities of daily living, getting up, getting dressed. That doesn't take into account any kind of workouts. Your metabolism is the amount of calories you're burning, keeping your body alive. That's where the majority of your calories go in a day. The majority of your calories are not burned by activity. 30% of the calories you burn in a day come from your brain activity, which is kind of crazy to think about. It's something that's not even moving. 30% of the calories you burn just from your brain. So when you're not eating enough, what do you guys think that does to your brain? You're not thinking very well. I don't know if you've ever had that experience of going on a diet, or maybe not even dieting, but it's been 6, 7, 8 hours since you've eaten, and you kind of get that brain fog. Things aren't coming to you, words aren't coming to you well. That's because your brain runs off of calories, and it's taking a big percentage of that energy. So, if I were to test your metabolic rate, has anybody ever had a metabolic test done before? It's not very common. I don't see like a ton of people getting it done. Something like those scans can give you an estimate, but it's not the real metabolic test. If I was going to test your metabolism, I would put a kind of looks like a respirator over your face, and you would breathe into it. Ideally, you would wake up in the morning, not have food, coffee, anything like that. You're laying there, you're breathing into it. It measures your CO2 respirations, and it spits out a number. This is about what you are burning in a day. So what that tells me is it has to do a lot with our breathing. So one thing, if you're breathing shallow all day long, barely getting any oxygen, you're barely putting out any CO2, your metabolic rate is going to be lower. So one very easy thing for you all to do that you can do today is to start taking deeper breaths. I like to pair this with meals. So 10 deep breaths all the way in. help to bring up the amount of calories that you are burning in a day. Sounds kind of woo-woo and crazy. It is proven by science, I promise. Everything that we talk about today is scientifically backed. There's going to be no, I'm not going to tell you any weird stuff that isn't backed by a study. You can Google it all, I promise. So back to that metabolic rate and how that comes into play with weight loss. So, for most people, I could put your height, weight, and age into a calculator, into a formula, and that's going to tell me about how much you're burning in a day without you having to get that test done. For most people, that formula is within 100 calories or so. I worked at a weight loss resort where every single person that came in, we did that metabolic test. I only had 4 or 5 people that came through that weren't within that 100, 200 calorie range. So for most people, unless you're really having a hard time, we can't figure out what's going on, I don't usually recommend going to get that metabolic rate test. So let's say your metabolic rate test comes back and it shows you're at 1,500 calories per day. So that's how much you're burning at rest. Now, a lot of people, when they try to lose weight, they're going to decrease their calories, right? So we're either going to decrease calories or we're going to cut something out. And what happens is the body is going to lose. So weight's going to go down, weight's going to go down. And then, so let's say you're eating 1,300 calories a day. So weight's going to go down until you hit that plateau, right? Everybody's experienced a plateau, I'm sure, at some point. So what happens when you hit that plateau is your body has readjusted your metabolic rate to meet what you were eating. So this is part of a survival mechanism. So if we were hunters and gatherers, the body would be saying there's only 1,300 calories of fuel available in our surroundings, so we have to readjust what we need to live. And how does it do that? Number one, by getting rid of muscle. So muscle is active tissue. It requires calories to maintain muscle. So you see this scale going down and going down quickly, and that's because muscle is heavy tissue. So not only are you losing fat mass, you're also losing lean mass, which on the scale might look great. Now when you're doing it in body, you can kind of see whether it's lean mass versus fat mass that you're losing. So when the body readjusts its metabolic rate to this 1,300, now you're here and you're hungry. The body is sending you signals to say, I want food here. But you're frustrated because you're not losing any weight. So you get one or two things. You can say, okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go down to 1,100 calories per day.
Here's a what? Here.
Sorry about my breathing in this. I'm sure you guys are used to that with people running, but okay, so if you go down to 1,100 calories, what's going to happen? Guess what? You're going to plateau off again. You're going to lose, and then you're going to plateau off again. Body's going to be readjusting its metabolic rate again. And now you're really mad because you're really hungry. And this is usually when you say, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done with this diet. I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, and all the other places. And then what happens is your weight comes back up, but it doesn't come back up to where you were here. Now it goes back up higher than where you started because your metabolism is no longer here anymore. Now it's down here. It can't handle the amount of calories that it did with the amount of muscle that it had. Other hacks the body has to bring that metabolic rate down. Your hair can grow slower, your heart can beat faster, it takes your energy levels lower, so you don't want to do as much in a day, and so that's going to burn less calories. So think about your body as just trying to survive. It's not trying to fight you. So you might have a certain goal, and if your body doesn't have the same goal, the body's goal is to survive, it's just trying to keep you alive. It's not trying to kill you. It's not trying to do the opposite of what you want. But you're teaching the body food is scarce. So what is it going to do? It's going to hold on to whatever it can. This is what happens when you eat below your metabolic rate. This does not mean that weight loss is impossible, but what it means is you have to go about it in the right way. So if your metabolic rate is 1,500, and then we add our, let's call them activities of daily living. So this is the getting up, getting dressed, all the things you normally do in a day. And then on top of this, this is exercise. So let's say this is 200 calories. Let's say in your workout you burn 300 calories. Okay, now we're at 2,000 calories. This is the number that would equal you staying exactly where you are. Now, if we decrease from that and we say, okay, well, we're going to eat less than this, that is where you'll start to see the result. Keep the lean mass and get rid of the fat mass. So the body has to know there's enough fuel to go around to keep the lean mass, but not enough so that it stays where we are. I know that was a lot of numbers, and I don't need you guys to count calories to lose weight, but I just wanted you guys to kind of know, because a lot of people were asking about the metabolism. What questions do you guys have?
What are the signs that your body's telling you that you're not eating enough?
You're not recovering well. So number one, if you're doing hard workouts like this, you're feeling sore. Second and third day soreness, like you're not wanting to come back because the body's not recovering well. Hunger is number one. So the reason why we feel hunger at all, so think about us as hunter-gatherers in the cave. That's really the only safe place for us. We needed a signal to tell us to go out and get food because it's unsafe out there. So our body's going to tell us when we need food. And so if that metabolic rate is dropping, the body is going to try to say, hey, I need you to go get food for me. So you're going to be thinking about food quite often. You're going to be craving high-calorie foods, high-fat foods. Think cheeseburger, french fries, shake. You're going to be thinking about those things because your brain is saying, hey, I need you to go get something. Also, you're going to have those kind of ups in energy and downs. And so when you feel the down and then you eat a meal and you're kind of getting back up, that's a clue too that you're going too long without having food and the body is having to send you that signal in overdrive. Also, end of the day, so a lot of times people can get through a whole day without really thinking a lot about food because they're busy. Go, 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 got a lot going on. And then around that 7, 8 o'clock time frame, that's when you start to get up and go to the pantry. What's in here? What else? And there's this never-ending stream of snacks. That's another clue that you didn't get enough nourishment throughout the day. And it may be calories, and it may be macronutrients that are out of whack. So you could be eating plenty of calories in a day, but still be not fueling your body. So you could eat 2,000 calories of crap, but still be hungry at the end of the day. And that's because you didn't meet your macronutrient needs. So each of the macronutrients has a very different job to do in the body: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So one of the mistakes that we've made over the past, over the past, I'd say 50 years in nutrition, is we pick one thing to demonize and we say, let's cut this thing out. So 90s, 2000s, it was fat. Fat was horrible. We don't want fat in anything. We had fat-free ranch dressing. We had fat-free cottage cheese. We had fat-free soups. We had fat-free cookies, those Snackwell cookies, the 100-calorie packs. None of it had any flavor. And so we would just eat and eat and eat and eat, trying to get that satisfaction that fat gives us. But we were just eating more carbohydrates. Now we decided carbohydrates are horrible. Don't eat carbohydrates, they're the worst. Fat is great, eat all the bacon and the butter and all the stuff. And then protein is like the angel child. We all need protein, we need more protein, everyone needs more protein. Let's put protein in everything from cereal to bars to just pretzels I saw the other day. Everything needs to have protein in it. The problem with this view of things is that we need each of those. They each have a very different job to do in the body. So when you cut one out, you're not doing the job of the others by doing that. So like I said, going back to that 2,000 calories a day, it might be what you need calorically, but if you're not getting a balance of these things, you're still going to be hungry. So with carbs, you've got the simple and you've got the complex. So complex carbs means it has fiber and it has vitamins and minerals. Simple carbs, there's no fiber, there's no vitamins or minerals. So this is your white bread, your pasta, your sugar, your cookies, cakes, candies. These are carbs, the simple carbs.
Can we take pictures of your board?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Pictures, video, whatever you want. Your complex carbs, so these are going to be things like sweet potatoes, apples, beans, chickpeas. They all have carbohydrates, and they're mostly carbohydrate based, but you're getting fiber and you're getting vitamins and minerals. So if I have, this is where your body wants to keep your blood sugar. Doesn't want to go too high, doesn't want it to go too low. Body works really hard to keep this in this zone. When you're too low, so let's say it's just been a while since you've eaten, you wake up in the morning, blood sugar level's low, or it's afternoon, it's been 6-7 hours since you've had something. Body says, hey, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm hangry, I'm moody, I'm fatigued, I need food here. That's a sign of low blood sugar. So let's say you have a simple carb, donut, cake, candy, bag of pretzels, even even if it's Smart Chips or something like that, if it's just carbohydrates with no fiber, the body's going to spike that blood sugar up because it's like, yay, we don't have anything to break down, let's get the blood sugar up, let's get the energy level up. And then your pancreas starts to go to work because it's like, uh-oh, we're going too high here, what are we going to do? So it secretes a hormone called insulin, and that drives that blood sugar level back down. So what do you think happens here? Again, angry, I'm moody, I'm tired, I'm fatigued. So this is what happens with a simple carb. If we compare that to, let's say you have an apple, that's going to look a little more like this. So it's not going to spike as high, and the energy is going to last a little bit longer from something like a complex carbohydrate. Now, if we compare that to, we take that complex carb, that apple, and we pair it with a protein and fat, so let's say peanut butter, handful of almonds, that's going to look like this. So even though you had the exact same amount of carbs, let's say you had 30 grams of carbs in the chips, 30 grams of carbs in the apple, 30 grams of carbs in the apple, look how different it looks energy level wise and over the day. So if you find yourself raiding the pantry either in the afternoon or at night, we need to make sure that you're pairing all three of these things together. So in an afternoon snack, when you get that lull at that 3-4 o'clock, you don't actually need coffee, you don't actually need a cookie, you need something that's got complex carbs, protein, and a healthy fat. Fat is the only thing that can send a signal to your brain that you're satisfied. Protein cannot do that, and carbs can't do that. So if we go to think about comfort foods, cheeseburger, mac and cheese, French fries, chicken fingers, ice cream, all those comfort foods I can think of, they're all high-fat foods because we send the signal to your brain, we are satisfied, we're good. Usually after a meal like that, you're not like, oh my gosh, I want to eat again in 20 minutes. You're like, I am done for the day. I'm not eating again. I am good to go. That is because of the fat. You can get that same signal from healthy fats though. So avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, salmon, those all send the signal to your brain that you're satisfied as well. So a mistake I see a lot of people make when they're trying to do this or trying to eat healthy is they eat that quintessential healthy meal of chicken breast and broccoli and brown rice. And like, look how healthy this meal is. It's like, first of all, it's so boring, but second of all, you eat a meal like that, and afterwards you can be physically full, like you can feel full in your stomach, but mentally you're thinking, where's the brownie? Where's the chips? I'm gonna go get some salsa, I'm gonna go get something out of the fridge afterwards because you're not fully satisfied from that. That usually means the fat was missing there. So what would I change in a meal like that? I would add some avocado, add some guacamole, something to that meal to get that satisfaction signal to the brain, and that's gonna go a lot further than you going and grabbing more chicken. So even though the fat has this health halo that everybody needs more protein, 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 you may not be getting the satisfaction signal from the protein that you're eating.
On that note, what can you recommend in terms of snacks? Like throughout the day and near nighttime?
Yes. Okay, so let's talk snacks. Actually, before I get to snacks, so basically what we're doing is we're creating a formula here. So your formula is complex carbs plus lean protein plus healthy fat. These are your macronutrients. We need to add to this micronutrients. So your micronutrients are your vitamins and your minerals. So something like spinach. Spinach is not high in carbs or proteins or fat. We all know spinach is healthy, right? So that's this component here. It's high in the vitamins and minerals. So anytime you eat, I don't care if it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, you should be using this formula to make sure that you're getting everything that you need. So with a snack, if I go back to the apple and peanut butter example, your apple counts as your complex carb. It also counts as your micronutrients. So most of your fruits and vegetables are going to be high in micronutrients. If I go to the peanut butter, that counts as your protein, also counts as your healthy fat. If I'm looking at something like a protein bar, I actually want it to have some healthy fat in it. So a lot of protein bars like the Premier Protein and the Quest and like those kind of brands go very low fat. The problem with that is you're not getting the satisfaction signal to the brain. So you're going to eat that and you might feel okay, it might satiate you for a while, but eventually this is going to catch up to you. By Friday, you are ready to eat a pizza. You are ready to eat a cheesecake, a pan of brownies. It may not catch up to you that day, but after a few days of going low fat, that is when you're going to go get something that's going to satisfy that brain. So an example of a bar, Perfect Bar, the ones in the refrigerator, they're mostly peanut butter and almond butter based. You'll find them near the yogurt section. That's an example of a bar that has all three of these things in it. Grab a fruit to go with that. That's a perfect 3-4 o'clock snack. I like the Target Good and Gather nuts, the flavored ones. They have an everything bagel flavored nuts. They have like cashews with almonds and pecans and anything you can kind of grab and go that's got the healthy fat and the protein with it, because then you can just grab a fruit and you're good to go. Any fruit, any nut or seed, that's a great combination for a snack. Kind bars, they have the Kind protein. The ones that say protein, not the Kind breakfast protein, not the regular Kind bars. I know there's a million different ones. The ones that say Kind protein, they have at least 10 grams in them. They also have a Kind protein max, that has 20 grams of protein in it. The reason why I recommend those is because they have the healthy fats in them as well. So if you're looking at a protein bar, you do want some kind of healthy fat in that. If you're not getting the healthy fat from it, you need to add that somewhere in your afternoon snack, or you're going to be heading to the pantry later. Yes?
So something I thought of, and if we can get to this now later, and that's tracking calories. Because I just got one of those cool scales where if you put it on, it gives you all the nutrients of like, say, a serving size is like 2/3, but you want less than that, it gives you less calories.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do, but I don't know if that's the right way to go. Like, I don't know if I should be obsessed with it, and that's what I've been trying to do the first week, and I'm trying to get my mind in it.
Yeah, so calorie counting, it's definitely not something that is necessary. I think it really depends on the person. So I have people that come to me that I never want them to track calories. I have people that come to me that I think it would be helpful. So I think if you're in the place where you're trying to learn more about your food, I think tracking can be helpful. I have a lot of clients who know everything about food. They've been on every diet known to man, and they really don't need that extra information. That's more just going to get in their head and make them more obsessive about food. I don't think you need to track every calorie you eat every day for the rest of your life to get results. I think it's a good idea to do it for about a 2-week period and then assess. Okay, so for 2 weeks I tracked my calories, carbs, proteins, fats. Here were my goals. What do I notice about the last 2 weeks? Well, I notice on Friday, Saturday, Sunday I blew up my calories out of the water, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I was lower on my calories. So how do I spread that out better throughout the week? Or I noticed I was high on my carbohydrates 80% of the days, so I know that's the thing that I need to focus on. So let me go forward and focus on that, versus letting a calorie counter make all your decisions for you. If you're letting the calorie counter make all the decisions for you, you're not really using your body as a regulator. Your body's your best regulator. So what a calorie counter doesn't take into account is if you have any of that metabolic damage that we talked about. So if you gain weight or lost weight and your body has readjusted its metabolic rate, it's just kind of spitting out what it thinks you need based on your height, weight, and age. It's not taking any of those other things into account. So if at the end of the day, let's say MyFitnessPal tells you you've got 400 calories left and 40 grams of protein that you need to eat, a lot of people are going to try to eat that, regardless of asking your body, do you need more food? not saying you need more. Body's not saying you're hungry. You don't need to eat more food. Your body will tell you when it needs something. So taking that into account when you're using the tracker. So using the tracker as data to learn more about your habits, great, but using it as kind of an end-all be-all to make your decisions for you can be a detriment. All right, where do we want to go from here? I got more ideas, but if we've got...
Do you have any recommendation for someone with hypothyroidism? That's
Okay, gotcha.
Sorry.
So, yes, I mean, with hypothyroidism, generally, the thing that you're going to be more concerned with than like average person. So you still want to do this, but usually the complex carbohydrates are the things that you're going to focus on above and beyond like the simple carbs. You're going to want to avoid simple carbs as much as you possibly can, even above what I would recommend someone else do that. But someone with hypothyroidism can absolutely follow this and do this. You actually need more of these. So adding as many of these as possible. Outside of that, I would need to know more like on the medical side what else was going on. What else?
As far as fasting, that pretty much goes with the first talk that you had as far as like total calories and if you're following.
Oh no, we can get way more into that. Okay, so fasting, just a fancy way to say not eating, right? Fasted cardio just means you didn't eat before you ran. Now, fasting, where the benefits start is at about 12 hours. So let's say you're done eating at 7 p.m. and you don't eat again until 7 a.m. The reason why you get a benefit from that is because your body gets to rest and repair overnight. So if you put something in your system at 10 o'clock and then you go to bed, first of all, it doesn't need energy to sleep. So you're putting fuel in the system to do nothing, to just lay there and rest. But if I ask you to work all day long, and then also ask you to work all night long, and then ask you to get up the next day and work more, you're not going to be working at the best of your ability. It's the same thing with your organs. So if you put fuel in your system, now your stomach's going to work, your pancreas is going to work, your intestines are going to work all night long. You're waking up, and you still have that fuel in your system. So your body's not going to be sending you a signal, I need food, or I need the right foods at that point. We want the organs to get rest overnight. We want to be resting and repairing. We don't want energy to be going towards digestion. It can also mess with your sleep. It can increase your internal temperature. So you'll wake up more throughout the night when you're digesting. Also, if you're not eating past 8 p.m., you're probably also not having chips, brownies, like you're not eating kale salads at 9 p.m. usually. It's usually not something that's great for you. So just by simply having a rule of a cutoff time to say I'm not going to eat past 8, it usually just cuts out a bunch of junk. And I think that's probably why the studies do show improvements in things like cholesterol and blood pressure and weight loss, because you're not eating crap at night. So you're just cutting that out. Yeah.
I got a tip for that a friend gave us. So what she does is at like 7 or 8, I don't know, every night she has a timer to remind her to brush her teeth.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she brushes her teeth, and then once you do that, you don't feel like eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
after you
That's
brush your
good.
teeth.
Yeah. So there are definitely benefits to that starting at about 12 hours. There are some additional benefits for endurance training if you go further than that, like 13, 14 hours. But past that, like at that 16-hour mark, what I've seen from most individuals is that you end up overeating within that shorter 8-hour window. It does work for some people, but in my practice from what I've seen is it's not as sustainable. And what people will tend to do is eat later and then just not eat all day and say that they're fasting, and then like eat a huge dinner and then do that kind of pantry grab thing and be like, yeah, I fasted for 16 hours today, but actually we're not really fueling the body very well at good intervals doing that. So I usually tell people start at that 12-hour and kind of see how you feel. Now I have had some people feel better at that 14-hour window, but that's just kind of a trial and error really based on the individual. Now comparing that, so fasted cardio versus eating breakfast, extremely individual. So if you come in here and you are are dragging if you don't have any fuel in your system and you're not getting a good workout, how are we really getting a benefit out of that? Versus some people cannot eat, you come in and you feel sick if you eat something before. So really trust your own body of what's going to be best for you, because the studies have shown fasted cardio has benefits, the studies have shown eating breakfast has benefits. So I really do think that's on an individual basis, and you can trust what your body is saying. And every day may not be the same. Some day you might wake up starving and be like, I need to put something fuel in the tank before I get there. Other days you may wake up and the body's like, not today. That's okay. Use your body as the best regulator there.
What if you fast like 7 o'clock at night till, you know, late the next morning?
Yeah.
Can you have water, coffee? Can you have anything like that?
Depends on what your goal is. So if your goal is fasting for digestive health or digestive benefits, or to give your digestive system a full rest, water is always fine. There's no reason not to have water. Coffee will activate some of your digestive system. It needs to break down some of those antioxidants. So if the point of the fast was to give the digestive system a complete break, coffee would break that. If the goal is just to not have calories during that fast, coffee wouldn't count.
On that note, is it true that is it not very beneficial to drink coffee first thing, like
So
before having breakfast? And
it's
water?
not that coffee in itself is bad for you. Your body can get energy 3 places: restorative sleep, food, and then stimulants like caffeine. The thing that happens when you have caffeine in the morning, it can blunt your body's need for food, because it says, oh, we're getting energy from here, so you're not as hungry in the morning. So if drinking coffee in the morning is making you not eat for hours and hours, and then you're making a bad decision for lunch because of that, because you're overly hungry, that can get people in trouble. Also, if you're sipping on coffee and you're not drinking water, that can get you in a dehydrated mode, which can also lead to overeating later. So I always recommend people drink water before coffee. You know, just give yourself 12 ounces of water before I start my coffee, I think is a good idea. It also, that enables you to kind of determine like where are my hunger levels a little bit better when you're hydrated. It's not the coffee itself, it's usually the things we put in the coffee. So coffee itself, it's just a bean, you know, we're just putting water through the bean, and we get antioxidants from it, we get some caffeine from it. Caffeine is known to increase focus. I'm sure we've all had that, felt that. It's really just what we're putting in the coffee.
I want to talk quickly, because again, I'm jaded on TikTok, and it's the reason why I track my calories, and the reason I try to go so hard in here. It's calorie deficit.
Yes.
So I try to get it, but I don't get it, and where I don't get it is how much. I get it's individual, but I don't get how much I need to do and versus eating. So I eat little, and then that's where I track, and you know what I mean. So that's where I'm having trouble.
So like the up and down of every day.
Exactly. Then that's where I go to tracking. Yeah.
So think about it like that. You're not a perfect 24-hour cycle.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't need the same thing every single day. So if you gave yourself a goal and you're like, I have to hit 1,750 calories every single day, that's actually not a good goal, because we're not taking into account what else is going on in your body.
Yeah.
The other thing that might happen is you might have a really hard workout. You might burn 800 calories in here and recognize that you're not that hungry that day. And if you say, well, I guess I gotta eat because I burned 800 calories, because you're not this perfect 24-hour cycle, your body may not need that extra recovery right then. It may be the next day, maybe the next day is your rest day, and you're like, well, I didn't do anything today, but I am starving. You need to listen to your body, because your body's saying, hey, I need help repairing this muscle right now. Now is when I need you to eat more. So don't fall into that trap that we are these perfect 24-hour cycles. We need 1,750 calories or whatever it is every single day. If you're not taking your body into account, it's not going to be a sustainable thing if you're just trying to do the ups and downs of the numbers. And a lot of times when I see people trying to play that game of the calories in versus calories out, we severely underestimate the amount of calories that we are eating. So they've done studies where people are 100% trying to track as perfectly as possible, and they underestimated their calories by an average of 30%. And these are people in a study with a job to try to track as accurately as possible. We also tend to overestimate the amount of calories that we are burning in a day. So if you notice after a couple of weeks of doing that and you're still kind of staying the same, I would kind of ask like, okay, maybe I need to over budget for the calories and then under budget for the amount that I'm burning.
I do notice that when I come in and work out, that's when I'm not as hungry. And like I'm like, oh, maybe I don't really need to eat right now.
Yeah, pay attention to if the next day your hunger levels go up. Yeah, because there may just be a delay in your body telling you when it needs help. And it may be devoting energy to that recovery. You may have enough to be recovered, and then the next day it's going to ask for more. Welcome.
Are there any like rules of thumb? So like if you're listening to your body and not feeling hungry, at what point do you say, all right,
Hey, body.
Yeah,
Like,
I
what's,
gotta feel
what's
it.
going on here?
Yeah.
What's going on here? I think a general rule of thumb that we can use is like past about that 5-hour mark without having fuel is when you tend to get through the last fuel that you had, depending on how big the meal is. But I think like a general rule of thumb is going somewhere between like 3 to 6 hours between eating time. So let's say you had an 8 a.m. breakfast, you had lunch at noon, so that's 4 hours. You're probably going to need a snack around 4 p.m., so that's another 3 to 4 hours, and then you're probably going to need dinner around 6 p.m., that's another 3 hours. So for most people, that kind of 4 times a day, and that can, maybe it was breakfast at 7, a snack at 10, lunch is a little later at 2, dinner's a little later for you, but usually around that 3 to 5 hour mark is when people will need something. I do have clients that are like, I don't really need that snack as long as I make sure I have a really good lunch. I can make it till dinner at 5:36. Totally fine with that. What you need to ask yourself is, am I getting to the point where I'm making a poor decision? If I'm getting to the point where I'm making a decision I didn't want to make, that means I probably went too long without eating. Because again, the body's going to send you signals, I need more calories, I need higher fat, I need simple carbs when you've gone too low. Yeah.
Besides avocados, can you recommend a few other foods like avocados for that healthy fat?
Any kind of nut or seed, so cashews, almonds, pecans, hemp seeds, chia seeds, those all have healthy fats. Olive oil, avocado oil. So if we go back to that example of the chicken breast and broccoli and brown rice, as long as you're cooking in a healthy oil, you can get fat that way as well. Salmon, any kind of fatty fish have the healthy fats in them. Peanut butter, almond butter. What am I missing?
Hummus?
So hummus is going to be mostly chickpeas, so it's going to be mostly carbohydrate, but then it's going to have olive oil in it if it's a good brand. You can turn around and look at the label if it's got olive oil in it. You can see, like, look at the grams in there and tell, like, is it mostly carbohydrates? Does it have some fat in it? And the way that you tell, did this have enough fat in it, is do I feel satisfied after having this meal? Like, cheese has fat in it. It's not the healthiest fat. So I wouldn't want you adding cheese to every meal to get a satisfaction signal. But let's say you're having an afternoon snack, you grab like one of those little Baby Bell cheeses, you've got some Crunchmaster crackers. I don't know if you guys have seen that brand, but like they're the seedy almond-based crackers. And then like maybe you've got some grapes or some almonds, like a little mini charcuterie board kind of situation. That could be an easy way to grab some fat in the middle of a day. Also yogurts. Icelandic Provisions is a great brand. Siggy's. The Chobani that's called Chobani Simple or Chobani Less Sugar. Not the regular Chobanis because they've got like 30 grams of sugar in them or something. The ones with the smaller amount of sugar, because all of those brands do include some fat in them. If you go fat-free yogurt, you want to add some nuts or seeds to that to make sure that you're getting some healthy fat in there.
So always cook with olive oil.
So depending on the temperature, so olive oil has a lower smoke point, so if you're heating something to a higher temperature in a pan, you don't necessarily want to use olive oil. Avocado oil would be better in that scenario. Avocado oil is good up to 500 degrees. So if you see any of that smoke coming off the pan, that actually creates some carcinogens. We don't want that. So we want olive oils to be like the basis of our dressings if you're cooking at lower temperatures. So if you're tossing something in olive oil and then you're putting the oven on 450 and putting your veggies in there, we actually don't want it heated to a high temperature. avocado oil would be good in that scenario. So I always have both at home depending on what I'm doing.
So not coconut oil.
Coconut oil is fine. Coconut oil just tends to add flavor to things. So whereas in avocado and olive oil, there's not as much flavor there. So coconut oil is good for baking, especially when things are going to be sweet, or if you do want them to have that coconutty flavor, that works too. Also, grass-fed butter can be worked in there. It's got some healthy fatty acids in it. It's also got the unhealthy fat in it, so it's kind of a middle of the road thing. I'm not asking you to put butter in your coffee or add butter, like throw more butter on, but to throw some butter in the pan and put your egg in there, that works too.
Egg white or the whole egg?
Ooh, this is. Are we ready for this? Okay.
That's a good one.
This is like literally my favorite topic to talk about. Okay, so I think it was back in 1960. You're gonna get a history lesson. So I'm sure you all heard like don't eat eggs; they're high in cholesterol. That was a major thing. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, eggs are the best thing ever. Everyone needs to be eating eggs all the time. And we're trying to decipher the headlines and why is this happening. This is a lot of the reason why people don't trust dietitians or nutritionists or anyone who talks about nutrition, because you change your mind all the time. Nutrition is a new science. As of like the 1920s, like that was when vitamins and minerals were discovered. So like we're still in a new science. So when we find out new things, we change the recommendation. That's how science works. So it's not that we're like changing our minds just to change our minds. It's you get new information. So in the 60s, they did studies on rabbits. And it was shown that when rabbits ate foods that were high in cholesterol, the cholesterol in their bodies increased. So the recommendation was do not eat foods that are high in cholesterol because the cholesterol in your body will increase. It's bad for your heart. So foods like eggs, shrimp, lobster, shellfish that are naturally high in cholesterol, they were off the table. Well, later we found out that rabbits, we knew that rabbits only eat grass, right? They don't eat anything that has cholesterol in it naturally. They only eat plants. So their body doesn't have the mechanism to break down cholesterol in the body. We do. So we figured out, we are different than rabbits. So actually, cholesterol in food has little to nothing to do with the cholesterol level in your body. This took the American Heart Association 20 to 25 years to actually say yes, admit to this, even though we had the studies there to prove that. But now, if you look at American Heart Association dietary recommendations, cholesterol is not a nutrient of concern. So don't even look at cholesterol on the labels of anything. It doesn't matter. Our bodies don't translate that into higher cholesterol in our systems. What does translate to higher cholesterol is saturated fat, and saturated fat when paired with simple sugars. So think cheeseburger. You've got saturated fat,
French fries.
saturated fat in the cheese, in the burger, saturated fat in the cheese, simple sugars in the bun. Fries, you've got simple carbohydrates, and then it's fried, you're adding the saturated fat to it. Cheesecake, you've got saturated fat in the cheese, you add sugar to it. Those are the things that increase the cholesterol. Now, going back to eggs, so have you guys heard of pasture-raised eggs? So best case scenario with eggs, so eggs do have some saturated fat in them. So there have been studies that show, the more eggs you eat, the higher your cholesterol is. Well, why would that be? Because we've already proven that cholesterol is not the issue. Eggs do have saturated fat. Also, in nutrition studies, we're using recall. We're asking people, how many times a week did you eat eggs? What often goes with eggs? Bacon, sausage, ham, white bread, an English muffin, pancakes. So a lot of times people that are eating more eggs are also eating other things that are high in saturated fat. So the difference between having, let's say, a sprouted grain or Ezekiel bread with avocado and an egg on it, very different than having an English muffin from McDonald's with an egg and ham and cheese. So it's not the egg that's the problem, it's what else is going with this egg. Also, when you go to the grocery store, you're faced with a million different options. Organic, pasture-raised, pasteurized, cage-free, all these different terms. Cage-free doesn't actually mean anything anymore. So it used to mean that the chickens weren't kept in a cage, yay! Now it just means they're all shoved in a barn. They're not in cages, but they don't get access to the outdoors or grass or bugs. Boo for the chicken, but boo for you, because when a chicken gets to eat what it's supposed to eat, the grass and the bugs, what they produce is higher in those omega-3 fatty acids. So if you get a pasture-raised egg, some of the brands are Pete and Jerry's, Vital Farms, Happy Egg Company. There's always like 3 or 4. Pasture-raised is the words we're looking for. If you break that in the pan next to a regular egg, just buy a regular whatever egg, you can see the difference in the yolk color right away. The one yolk color is going to be like a dingy yellow, and the pasture raised is going to be a bright orange. The bright orange is the same thing, the beta carotene that makes carrots orange. Think about, if a chicken's eating grass and bugs, they're going to produce better nutrient-dense eggs versus eating corn and soy and whatever's in the feed when they're stuck in the barn. Also, with the omega-3 fatty acids, good for the brain as well. I don't know if you've heard like EPA, DHA. Those are good for brain. I think everybody should be taking an EPA, DHA supplement. I think that's generally I don't like. It's not the first thing I do is recommend supplements for everyone, but I think most people are not getting enough.
Which one? Sorry.
It's so generally they're known as omega-3s.
Okay.
But what's important is not the amount of omega-3 in the supplement. What's important is the amount of EPA and DHA. So this stands for like something crazy, exa something pentanoic acid. I don't know, dexa something acid. But these are omega-3s. And the brand I recommend is called Nordic Naturals, because they have lemon and orange flavored ones. So generally if you take these, it's going to taste like fish if you burp it up later. The Nordic Naturals has a lemon and an orange flavor, and they have smaller soft gels. The one I recommend is called, they're all on Amazon. It's called like, it has an X, it's like Extreme or something like that. You want to have at least 400 milligrams of EPA in it. So when you're buying an omega-3, these are the 2 things that you're looking at, not just, because someone will be like 1,500 milligrams of omega-3. I don't really care. I care about the EPA and the DHA that's in it. Did I answer your question about eggs?
So question? Oh, sorry.
No, can you just roll off? It was Vital Farms, eggs, and
Yeah, Vital Farms, that's generally the most expensive one, but they're good, they're very orange. Pete and Jerry's, Happy Egg Company, those are all the ones I can, starts with a B, something Farms starts with a B. But generally like Publix, Target, wherever, they'll have like 3 or 4 brands, usually Brooks Farms. Usually one of them will be on sale every week. I just get whatever one's on sale that week, is what I do. And I know it's really hard to spend $6 on a dozen eggs when they used to be like $2.19. It's like so painful. But when you think about it in terms of protein, it's still a pretty inexpensive protein source for what you get comparative to other things, especially if you're getting the pasture-raised, high-quality protein source. To buy that versus like a grass-fed beef, way more expensive. So I try to think about it in those terms. Yeah.
Plant-based or regular meat?
Be more specific, like for what? Just in general?
You know, they sell now these plant-based
Yeah.
meat now.
Yeah. Like which one's healthier?
Yeah, is it better to eat just the regular or is the plant-based? Because I heard the plant-based is still
Processed.
processed.
Still have stuff in it.
Processed.
It really depends. I can't lump all the plant-based stuff into one category, because if you're getting something that's plant-based and the ingredients are this long and half of them you can't pronounce, it's like, is that really real food?
Okay.
Versus when I'm looking at meat, what I want you to look at is like, okay, where did this come from on the animal? If it's a hot dog, what animal has a hot dog? Like, right? Like, where's that coming from? So like, what did we do to screw that up? Like that, okay, so like a hot dog, I can't really picture where that came from. A chicken breast, it's just the breast of a chicken. Now, is it injected with things? Like, okay, how much did we do to screw it up, or is it just a chicken breast? Okay, if it's just a chicken breast, I'm gonna choose that over the thing that has this many ingredients in it. Now that being said, I have clients who, from an ethical standpoint, don't want to eat meat. We can totally make that work. We can hit your protein needs if you're vegetarian, if you're vegan. So if it's based on like just a personal decision, we can totally work with that. But then there are some plant-based foods. Like the other night I had these, they're like black bean veggie meatballs, basically. And it was mostly black beans, there were some chickpeas, there was some corn, and there was almond flour. Great, okay, those are the only ingredients. They had some protein in them, it was something different. That can be included in a gray diet as well. So I can't say like black or white, which one's better. I think it really depends on the person.
And eating for muscle gain.
Yes. That kind of goes back to the protein question. So there's this TikTok, Instagram is always like 30 grams of protein at each meal. I'm sure you guys have seen that. Like 30 grams of protein. Everybody needs 30 grams of protein at each meal. Well, I don't think that's a bad recommendation. I do think you still have to take your body into account. So especially with some women clients that I've worked with, they're really stressed about getting that 30 grams of protein in at each meal, so especially breakfast. So they're just eating a lot more to get to 30 grams of protein. But if we go back to the metabolism thing, if we're overeating in calories but hitting that 30 grams of protein goal, yes, you're going to gain muscle, but you're also going to gain fat because now we have an additional amount of energy that we're not burning. So I think the 30 grams of protein goal can work, but if you're only getting 30 grams of protein because you're eating a ton more food, I think your overall goal is probably to decrease some of the fat mass and increase the lean mass. So for someone who's that goal of it, I would pay attention to, am I just eating more overall just to hit those goals? As far as like the most recent recommendations for protein, it is 1.6 to 1.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. So the way that you would figure this out, so let's say if I'm 180 pounds, I divide that by 2.2 to get the kilograms. So that would be 81.8 kilograms. And I would say 81.8 times 1.6 equals 130.9. So I would need at least 131 grams of protein in a day. Now this is an ideal number. Ideally, I'm getting this. Now, if I'm having to shove chicken breasts and protein shakes and protein bars in my face all day, every day to get to this number, and I'm forcing it, maybe this isn't the right number for me. So this is ideal. This is for someone who is doing strength training and breaking down muscle. That's where these numbers come from. So if you're a desk warrior and you're going on a couple walks a week, you do not need this much protein because you're not actively breaking down and recovering and repairing that muscle.
So then, on the flip side, for like fat loss.
Yes.
Can you do a question?
I need to, so for that,
Yeah.
if you're wanting to lose weight, you would want to use this equation based on your lean mass. So the number of pounds of lean mass you have is what this number would be here. So I use 180 pounds. So however much lean mass you have, let's say if it's 120 pounds of lean mass, that's what you would use here.
And where that 2.2 comes from?
2.2 is just how to convert pounds into kilograms.
Okay.
Because it's 1.6 to 1.8
Okay.
per kilograms, because that's what the whole world uses, except for us.
What's your take on sodium? I've heard,
Okay.
you know, like electrolytes versus
Yeah.
just
Um,
low sodium.
Okay, so if you have any issues with blood pressure, you don't want to use any kind of electrolyte replacers, because with blood pressure, this is your artery. Sodium is a restrictor, so sodium does this. And so if your blood pressure is already high, that restriction is going to cause that blood pressure to go up. Potassium does the opposite. Potassium is a dilator, so just so you know, like potassium does the opposite of sodium. Now, so if you get that out of the way, you don't have high blood pressure, do I need to replenish electrolytes? Most people do not need an electrolyte replacer. If you're doing a workout that's 90 minutes or less and you sweat, you can replace all the electrolytes that you need by eating a healthy diet, by eating these micronutrients, by making sure that you're drinking water. You don't necessarily need additional electrolytes on top of that. Now, if you work outside and you're sweating for more than 3 hours a day, that's where those electrolyte replacers can come in handy. So generally, like as you know, when Gatorade became a thing, it was to fuel football players who were sweating for 4 or more hours to replace their electrolytes. That makes sense because they're not eating meals during that time and they needed something to replenish that because they're sweating a lot. But now it's marketed to everybody. Because yay, they make money when you convince everyone that you need that. Now for me, I like the Liquid IV and the LMNT, those powders. They help me to drink more water. So I will use some of that powder, like if I'm doing this, I might use like a quarter of one in here once a day, once every couple days to just flavor up my water. Yay, like I don't need the electrolytes, but it's helping me to drink a little bit more, and it's gonna be better than a lot of the other kind of flavored things that I would be drinking. So I don't think it's bad, don't drink them, but I also don't want you going and spending $35 on a pack at Costco thinking that you need to be doing it after every workout. Not necessary, probably not gonna cause harm. Kind of like a multivitamin. It's like in a little insurance policy, like, do I need everyone in the world to take a multivitamin? Probably not. Most of the things in a multivitamin, you're probably okay getting, but is it gonna hurt you? No. So if you want to take one, go right ahead. It can only help, but you don't need it. Yeah.
I'm doing the muscle gain challenge, and I just started taking creatine again. So
Yep.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Great. I think it's one of the most well-studied supplements out there. There are even additional benefits coming out with cognitive benefits that they're showing. As far as creatine goes, it's not going to directly cause muscle gain, but what it does is it allows you to get in that additional 2 to 3 reps, somewhere between a 10 and 15% extra push, and that's usually why you end up gaining strength from taking a creatine. So in general, unless you have some kind of kidney issues, I don't see any reason not to do it. And it's becoming super popular right now because of all those new studies that came out. I'm seeing like creatine gummies. And you do not have to spend a lot of money on creatine. It should be pretty cheap. It should be between $20 and $30. It shouldn't be like the $60, $70, $80 ones. There's a lot of different versions of creatine. Creatine monohydrate is the most well-studied one, and it works. So you don't have to spend money on these crazy new versions of it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, timing.
Okay, timing. I like for people, if you're going to do a strength training workout, to get it in before the workout, but it's still going to benefit you if you don't get it in before and you drink it throughout the day. If you're keeping those creatine stores high, and I really only recommend it on the days when you're working out. You don't necessarily need to be doing it every single day, unless you are getting a cognitive benefit from it, then you would want to continue it every day. But generally I recommend before the workout, after you're still going to get some benefit.
Okay, because I replaced my coffee with creatine in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I work out at lunchtime, but I don't know if it's like too long a time
No,
period between.
no, it's gonna
Okay.
it's gonna stay in your system. Yeah.
But how much should you, because I only take like a little, like less than 5 grams.
5 grams. Yeah,
Yeah.
5 grams is the recommended
Right,
amount.
right.
Yep. So if there used to be a theory that if your creatine stores were depleted, you needed to do a loading phase of 20 in a day for 7 days or 14 days or something like that. And the recent studies have come out that show you don't really need to do that, that it will replenish over time at that 5 grams. That's fine.
Amino acids?
The branched chain amino acids. So you've got protein, which is a full molecule, and then you've got branched chain amino acids, which make up protein. I think there's like 19 to 22 different amino acids that make up a protein molecule. There are 5 to 6 that we know that really help with muscle recovery, and that's what is known as the group of branched chain amino acids. What they help with is delayed onset muscle soreness. So in normal people terms, second day soreness. So if you do squats and 3 days later you can't get off the toilet, you probably need some BCAAs in your life. Unless it's like the first time you've done squats in 4 months, like that's normal for you to take a while. But branched chain amino acids can help boost that recovery. So think about protein is good for repairing muscle. Those broken down branched chain amino acids can help jumpstart that recovery. So timing of that's good before and during the workout. Protein in a meal will help you recover afterwards, but those branched chain amino acids can just kind of give you a jump start.
Sorry, what's the first word you're saying?
Branched.
Branch.
Yep, like the branch of a tree. So generally you're going to see them as BCAAs. One thing I hate about these is they taste really bad. So most companies are going to put sucralose and acyl sulfame K to make them taste good. I don't like these. So you don't want to get the ones that have this in it, because if you're doing something good for your body, like let's put all the good stuff in for your body. So one of my favorite brands of the BCAAs is called Thorne, Thorne. You can get it on their website or on Amazon. Generally, this is a really good brand for all supplements. They're third-party tested, so they say what they say. They have what they say are in the supplement.
Do you have any thoughts on fat burner supplements?
They all suck.
What?
She asked for fat burner supplements. So generally what that's going to be, they will say like increases metabolism, like burns fat. Usually what that is there's some kind of an upper in there. So it's going to make you a little jittery, it might make you move a little faster, it might make you burn some extra calories when you're on that, but it doesn't inherently increase your metabolism. So any benefit that you're getting from it, you're only getting while you're on that thing, and you will lose it as soon as you're off of it. And for most people, those supplements aren't regulated. They can have, I could like scoop up dirt off the floor and call it a fat burning moon metabolism powder, and until it's proven that I harm someone, I call whatever I want and say whatever I want about it, because it's not regulated. So I no to all of that.
The Thorne supplements, was
Yeah.
that muscle building or fat loss?
So the branched chain amino acids was the Thorne one, but they have they also have protein powders. They also have creatine. So you could go to them just for pretty much any of the supplements, just knowing that's a good brand, and they don't add any artificial sweeteners to anything. But branched chain amino acids, if you don't like the powders and you don't like how they taste, you can also get capsules. So it's usually about 4 capsules that you would need to take before the workout.
Question about peptides. I've seen some stuff on my social media about what it is.
Yeah, I don't really know. I know they're like med spas are doing injections of peptides. I don't really know why. I don't get it. I haven't really seen any like science supporting that. Something about giving you energy. Sorry, I don't. Yeah, I don't really know about that.
What are your thoughts on collagen?
Yes, actually, yes to collagen. So it's going to give you about a 10 to 15% improvement in skin elasticity and wrinkle reduction. 10 to 15% is not much, so like you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, look how young I look from taking this collagen. You're probably not going to notice. Your boyfriend's not going to notice. Like, but it does work for that 10 to 15%. So it's like if I'm willing to pay $600 for Botox, I better be willing to pay like $24 for some collagen to just kind of help that process.
What kind? Sparkle kind?
So for me, I don't like collagen powders. I don't, not from a nutrition standpoint, just like personally. I think they make water taste weird. I think it ruins your coffee. Like, don't ruin my coffee with that. Oh, great. If you're a warrior and you put it in there, like, absolutely do that. I use the capsules. The brand is Verisol. If you just type in Verisol collagen on Amazon, they have these at Costco as well. This is the cheapest, well-rated brand from Consumer Lab. So Consumer Lab did test how much collagen to see does it have what it says in there. This one was top rated, and it's one of the cheaper ways to do it. So just because I don't like the powder, I'll do 4 of these capsules in a day. The powders, most of the brands that you see at Costco, Publix, the like Vital Proteins, Ancient Nutrition, like they're fine. They don't have any kind of like weird additives or anything to them. I just don't like the texture of it in my
What
drinks.
about that I always see Rise, that mushroom coffee?
Yeah, I like that. Yes,
Okay.
Rise, and the other brand is called 4 Sigmatic. I should be giving you guys my Amazon affiliate codes and making money off this.
Yeah, you're gonna go buy it anyway.
I'll just put in an email, all my codes. I'm not affiliated with any of these brands. I don't make money off of any of these recommendations. 4 Sigmatic, and I think is it RYZE? I think
Yes.
the Rise mushroom coffee. So there are some mushrooms in there, so like lion's mane, chaga, turkey tail, reishi. These are all known for the brain benefits, and they are basically just putting them into powder forms, drinks that can help with different cognitive, whether you want a calming situation or whether you want additional focus. So I didn't do this today, but usually if I'm doing a presentation, podcast, something like that, I'll do the 4 Sigmatic mushroom coffee because I just think words come to my brain a little bit easier. It's not like an Adderall, like upper kind of situation. It's just level, mellow focus. If you're trying to like write a paper or something, you might look up an hour later and be like, oh, I wasn't distracted for an hour. That's kind of where that will come in. I would not do it every day. I wouldn't start drinking Rise coffee every morning because I think you're going to decrease the benefits that you see on a regular basis for when you need it. Same thing with regular coffee. If it becomes a habit, you just have to drink it every day. You don't really feel a difference. You just feel like you, right?
So what frequency?
So this would be just when you need it. So for me, it may be once a week,
So
twice
for
a
public
week.
presentations or like
Yeah.
podcasts, like you mentioned.
Or if you're just like, I got a long day ahead of me, I need some extra focus, I'm gonna do this like 1 or 2 times a week. Yeah.
The day before and the day during competition, what kinds of things do you recommend to eat? Mainly for my kids, I don't do many competitions anymore, but
Okay, so
sometimes I
like
do,
a
yeah.
long
like a
competition
5K,
day.
Spartan, Savage, that kind of stuff.
Ooh. Really depends on the person because, so for example, like for marathoners, like I know a lot of people's favorite marathon meal or pre-marathon meal is like a bagel with peanut butter because it's high carb, you've got some complex carbs that are going to last with you for a long time, it's paired with the protein and fat, it's going to keep the blood sugar level stable. Me personally, if I eat peanut butter before a race, I feel slow, sluggish, just, this is getting in the weeds, but so this is why nutrition is so individualized. I'm a nerd, I've done all the genetic testing, I know I have a gene polymorphism that affects how my body metabolizes saturated fat. So when I eat foods that are high in fat and then I ask myself to go do something hard, my body is trying to break that down and I'm not going to be at my best doing that. So that's why it's so individual. And I didn't need a genetic test to tell me that. I trialed it. I ate a bagel with peanut butter and I felt slow. And I wasn't getting the performance that I wanted out of that, but everybody else was eating it. It seemed to go well. So it's really kind of, you definitely want to make sure you're not cutting carbs. You don't want to go high protein, high protein, high protein, because the protein is going to stay longer in the system. Like if I said, here's a handful of popcorn, here's a handful of steak, which one's going to last longer? You know it's a steak, but then also you don't really want that feeling in the stomach before you're going to go do a swim meet or
So like the night before?
night before. You know, there's not a lot to that. There used to be that like carb loading theory. like eat a bunch of pasta.
Pasta and
the
meat,
night
that's how you
before,
should- yeah.
eat a bunch of pasta. I'm still down for the pasta, but I want the pasta to have complex carbs. So I want it to be like a Bonza chickpea pasta, or like a whole grain pasta that's gonna stick with you longer than it's just gonna raise the blood sugar up and then drop it. So I want it to be a carbohydrate, but I want it to have fiber in it. So sorry, that I would have to do like individual basis recommendations on that because I think it's a different.
A good biotin, I know you're against Nutrafol, so.
You
Biotin,
saw that,
I
huh?
saw that.
Honestly, you can get the Nature's Bounty hair, skin, and nails for like $7 to $10. The gummies,
Really?
they work just as well as the expensive stuff. Biotin is kind of like creatine. You can get it for pretty cheap. You don't need to spend a ton of money on it. The gummies work just as well as far as gummies go, like yes, you're increasing the amount of sugar that you're eating, okay, fine. There are some things that don't go well in gummies and the body doesn't break down as well. It's not as bioavailable, but biotin is just fine. Or you could just go and you get like the Nature's Bounty biotin capsule is just fine too. They're all gonna work pretty well. You guys are great questions.
I have something very specific.
Okay.
When I take melatonin and it's just melatonin, I feel awful like next 2 or 3 days. If I take it with L-theanine in it, I somehow feel like I can function the next day.
Interesting. Do you have you seen like a difference in the amount of milligrams of melatonin? Is it the same?
I can't take more than 3.
Okay.
So I take things with like 1.5. It's also like great things with half. I just know like the Ollie gummies that are like the lemon balm ones that have L-theanine in it.
Yeah.
And not even magnesium.
Okay.
That's separate. It's actually differently versus just $8 for.
Interesting. Maybe the
I
L.
don't know if that makes a difference.
I don't know why that would be. I'd have to do some research there, but maybe the L-theanine is helping you just to like break down and work through it faster, so you're not having that melatonin hangover the next day. I'm not really sure why that would be. With melatonin, if you feel that kind of like the next day, I would recommend some other things for sleep. Here we go, more products. Yeah, I'm not affiliated. There's a powder by Four Sigmatic. I think it's just called like calming powder. It's got magnesium, lavender, some different like calming mushrooms in it. And I would take this, so this goes into water, I would take this like 8-9 p.m. if you're gonna be going to bed within like an hour or two. And the other thing I would recommend is called New Mood, and that is by Alpha Brain, New Mood, it's by Onnit, is the company. And that has serotonin, tryptophan, I think it has some L-theanine in it. These are just like all natural things that don't cause any kind of reliance on it or anything like that, but if you're having trouble sleeping, these are just all kind of calming things that can help you to stay asleep.
That stuff is mushroom powder, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Talks about magnesium supplements for like muscle recovery and
I would only take magnesium in the evening, so don't take magnesium during the day because again, it is like a calming kind of situation. And yeah, I mean, I'm not against it. I would want you to I would ask like what your specific goal is. Like if someone's like, do I need a magnesium supplement? I'd be like, okay, for what? And if you were saying like, I'm having a hard time recovering muscle-wise, I'd be much more likely to recommend branched chain amino acids, creatine, see if you're getting enough protein, because I think based on that goal, you get more bang from your buck from something else. And I don't, it gets to, I mean, how many products have we already talked about? Are you guys gonna do all 12 of these every single day? No, probably not. We have to pick like what are the things that are most important for you and where you're gonna get the best benefit. And I would say for like muscle recovery, magnesium wouldn't be it. I would say if at the end of the day you're really struggling to wind down and you're really struggling with sleep, then maybe magnesium in accordance with some of these other things, like not just magnesium on its own, may be a good option.
And there are a lot of types of magnesium, right?
Yeah.
What is the perfect one for sleep?
For sleep, so if I was just taking magnesium on its own, I would get one that has like the 3 different versions of magnesium in it. The brand is called Life Extension. It's in a blue bottle. But again, like, if you're just wanting magnesium for sleep, I would get it with something else. So like this New Moon has magnesium in it, but then it also has other things that will help with sleep as well. So you're kind of covering more bases than just the magnesium. And if you're not deficient in magnesium, adding more magnesium isn't really going to do anything.
So I like it for digestion, so I take the magnesium citrate at night.
Yeah.
It seems to help. Anything else you would recommend for digestion, for like?
Depends on what the problem is, depends on what the issue is. So, like, I don't just recommend people just start taking probiotics. Like, I would want to know, what are we dealing with? Like, what, because for probiotics, there are different strains, there are a million different strains, and they're all good for different things, from if you're having issues with diarrhea or constipation or IBS or bloating or immunity, vaginal health, like all different strains for different reasons. So it would depend on what the goal was, if I would recommend a probiotic or if I would tell you to do certain probiotic foods for digestion.
But is it good just to have probiotics, period?
That's what I mean. I'm like, it depends.
You don't really have, okay.
So I take probiotics if I know that I need an immune system boost. So like if I'm about to go travel or everyone around me is sick, I might add a probiotic that's specifically for immunity. If, let's say, I'm traveling to like some foreign country and I'm really worried about the foods I'm going to be eating, I might do one for digestive health. I'm not going to take a probiotic on a regular basis if I'm just generally healthy and digestion is going well. What I will do, though, and what I do recommend, is that people eat foods that have probiotics in it in a regular basis, and drink drinks that have probiotics in a regular basis. So yogurts, kefir, kimchi, kombucha, anything that's aged and fermented that has those natural bugs in it, I would definitely recommend that. Now, if I have an inkling that someone's digestion is way off and they need help with that, I might recommend a general probiotic. Just get through one bottle of that to kind of restart the system and then see where that goes from there. And I have some people that take probiotics in perpetuity because they know this helps keep me regular, I feel good on it, I'm not bloated, and they just continue to take it. But I don't think everyone needs to be taking a probiotic all the time.
Is there a brand you recommend for kombucha, something that's like not as high in sugar?
Dr. Townsend's tends to be good. Humm, Health Aid, the sugar varies in those. But kombucha has to have sugar in it because the bacteria feeds off sugar. So when you take the sugar out, the bugs die. So most kombuchas are going to have some level of sugar in them. But some are going to have 20 grams and some are going to have 10.
Yes.
So just trying to find the ones that have the lower
Okay.
amount. Yeah. If you've never had kombucha before and you don't know if you like it, I think Health Aid is a good like gateway kombucha to try. It's not as like vinegary, acidy as some of the other ones are. The poppy soda. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's like good.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so don't drink it because it's good for you. Don't drink it because you think you're doing something good for your body. Drink it because it's an alternative that's better than soda. So it's not actually like you're getting all these benefits from it. It's more just like, okay, this is just better for you than Coke or Diet Coke or something like that. It's not actually a kombucha. Like a kombucha actually has the good bacteria in it.
I use that True Leaf monk fruit to sweeten my coffee. Is that okay?
Well, I want you to look at the ingredients. If the first ingredient is erythritol, toss
No.
it.
Okay.
So you want if you're looking for a natural sweetener, you want the ingredients to just be that natural sweetener. Just stevia, just monk fruit, whatever. What a lot of them will do is add sugar alcohols as a filler and a binder. So erythritol is one of the most popular, cheapest ones that they use So I wouldn't want to be adding a sugar alcohol. I would just want straight up monk fruit stevia, and that's it. So just look at that.
This has been very helpful.
Yay, good.
Yes,
Good, I'm glad. You guys are
awesome.
fun.
I hope
Yes.
I win the session. I'm just kidding.
I don't know what we're going to talk about.
I know, right?
Very true.
I'm just kidding.
I have been drinking zinc daily.
Zinc?
Just to, yeah.
Okay.
just for my
Immune system?
Yeah,
Mhm.
because that help.
Yeah. Yeah, so I told you, like, I would do an immune-based probiotic if I feel like I need it. I will also do, like, the vitamin C, zinc, elderberry. Some studies say it's beneficial, some studies say it does nothing, but hey, any little edge that I can get, like, I'm gonna go for it. Yeah, it's not gonna hurt. Well, thank you guys for coming.
Yes.
This is fun. Thank you for all the questions.
Yes.
It's the best when people are interested and ask questions rather than me just sitting up here trying to figure out what to talk about.
No, that was great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
so,
much.
yeah, put your email in if you guys want
I saw it
to.
here, so I'm gonna take a picture.
If you want any of my cards, I will just take
Oh.
yours.
Thank you so much, Megan. We really
You're very
appreciate it.
welcome.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for encouraging me.
Thank you.
Thank you for organizing it.
Yes, thank
That
you.
too.
Yes.
Yeah, she caught me on a good day. She's like, maybe you want to like do a presentation on a Saturday. I'm like, yeah. Okay.
And you said you have a podcast, what's
Yeah, it's just the Nutrition Awareness Podcast.
Okay.
You search it, it's on Amazon or Spotify.
And then we're gonna, Megan's gonna post this on YouTube for us to,
sweet.
where you watch it.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
I will post that and I'll send you the links.
All right, awesome. I'll get the link and then I'll give it to all of you guys.
Perfect, thank you.
Awesome, all right.